I'd like to call the meeting to order. For those who care to, please rise for an opening prayer. Salute the flag. Dr. Ward, would you open us in a word of prayer, sir?
Father, we're always grateful for the opportunity to come together as city government. I continually thank you for the leadership of our staff, for the men and women who work for us every day, give of their time and energy and sacrifice. I thank you for the men and women that serve on this council, and I pray that you give to us wisdom to make good decisions and the courage to stand behind them. And so we dedicate all that happens here tonight to you, and we're just thankful for the blessings that come from you. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, you're sitting pretty close to me. You probably ought to put that cap on.
Nice.
Oh. You don't mind. Things like that. I ain't drinking so much water. And this water, buddy. I'm going to watch what you say.
Just a few announcements tonight. March 22nd, this past March 22nd, just a few days ago, was Mr. Krishke's birthday. He was, well, he had a great birthday, I hope. He didn't get cake in his mouth or anything like that, but he did have a good birthday. So, happy birthday, Mr. Krishke, and I'm not going to tell him that you're 55 or anything like that, so we'll just let that one go.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome anytime. Also, March 31st was coming up.
Get the official discount now.
No, he doesn't. Do you really?
55. Someplace I must. Yeah.
We'll have to find out lunch that week.
Jim's buying now.
Jim is definitely buying now. March 31st, please wish Connie Muller happy birthday. Jim's executive assistant. She does a great job for us, and her birthday's coming up. I do not know how old she is, and I'm not guessing. That is one thing I don't do, except when it comes to, say, Miss Poole or something like that, then I might guess.
Just leave it to you.
Leave it to me.
Leave it to Beaver.
Also, next week, the election is April 3rd. Please get out and vote. Plenty of things on the ballot this time around, and not only from school board, but from our county and things like that. So please get out and vote. That's April 3rd. And let's see. I think that's about all I have tonight, except for in the back, we have the 2012 Class 5A, right? 4A? Gave you credit. I'm from Kansas. Everything was 5A.
They would have beat the 5A anyway.
They probably would have beat the 5A anyway. But a Class 4A, Lady Tiger, state basketball champs. Ladies, come forward. Over there. Ladies, congratulations. I'm going to wait till you all get up here. We have a couple things to present you tonight, but what we have, first of all, I would like to... Watch the quarter. First of all, I'd like to introduce our Western Greene County Commissioner, Harold Bench. He's here to present a proclamation to you on behalf of Greene County. And Harold Bench, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and it is a pleasure. Indeed, it's an honor to read this proclamation for you ladies. It's quite an accomplishment, to say the least. We're very, very proud of you. You've done Greene County and the City of Republic a great honor. Whereas the Republic Lady Tigers did from a team including Bailey Raw, and I'll try and get these names right. If I don't, please listen. Micah Mansker, Mercedes Doherty, Taylor Wells, Brooke Dutton, Kaylee Mathis, Alice Heinzler, Kayla Bartlesmeyer, Alex Bodkin, Lindsay Carlson, Tori Taylor, Alex Edwards, and Sarah Cruel, and Coach Christopher Flood. And whereas began basketball playoffs with a hard-fought district championship win over Bolivar of 59-47, and were able to get a sectional win over the Aurora team by 70-53. That's pretty significant numbers, ladies. And whereas the Lady Tigers took on Elias Catholic School in Rolla with a final score of 46-37, after battling back from a halftime deficit, moving them to the Final Four. And whereas the Lady Tigers prevailed in the semifinal game after trailing at halftime against Miller Career Academy from St. Louis by a score of 56-47, aided by an early 18-2 run to start the third quarter, and did will their way to a hard-fought 53-51 win and claiming the Class 4 state title. I'd like to stop right there because the presiding commissioner of Greene County is also an alumnus of Republic High School, and I think it would be appropriate for him to complete the reading of this proclamation. So if he would come forward at this time. You didn't know you were going to do that.
Harold, I was back far enough, I couldn't hear where you were.
All right. Well, the Republic Lady Tigers have proven themselves to be an example of an outstanding valor, teamwork, sportsmanship, and most importantly, representing their community and their state. We, the members of the Greene County Commission, now pause to recognize you guys for a job well done. We're very proud of you. Ladies and gentlemen, the Republic Lady Tigers. No, I used to have that effect on girls in high school when I was in high school, but not anymore.
You still do.
Congratulations, ladies.
Thank you. And on behalf of the city, I would also like to make a proclamation. And I'm going to step up. Usually I sit down and read these. I'm going to step up and read this one. Getting all kinds of accolades tonight. Videotape, right? You guys are being videotaped. You know that camera right there? Little smile. Whereas the Republic Lady Tigers basketball team under Coach Chris Flood and staff is to be recognized and honored for their outstanding 2012 season. And whereas by the extraordinary efforts, this dynamic team progressed, achieving the state championship title and ending the final game with a score of 53-51. Whereas this has been an exciting, hard-fought, and successful basketball season for you, the Republic Lady Tigers. Whereas the excellent performance, dedication, commitment of these young ladies, along with their coaching staff, have proven to be a source of admiration and inspiration, not only to the citizens of Republic, but to the school staff in the surrounding area. Whereas our city is proud of the state championship the Republic Tigers have earned, and the fine publicity they have brought to our community by their good sportsmanship and inspired team play. Now, therefore, I, Brian C. Buckner, Mayor of the City of Republic, Missouri, congratulate the Republic High School, its Lady Tiger basketball team, its coaches, its athletic department, and all people associated with the Republic Lady Tigers for outstanding accomplishments. Testimony whereof I have set my hand and affixed the seal of the City of Republic this 26th day of March 2012. Ladies, congratulations. On the hand of the Republic Lady Tigers state basketball champion. Thank you. Wait till they clear just for a second. right, on to next item on the agenda. I'd like to open a public hearing of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, amending the zoning code and official map by changing the classification of approximately 965 acres located near the interchange of James River Freeway and State Highway MM, and also along South Farm Road 97 and East Sawyer Road from Agricultural AG to Plan Development District PD 12-01, and the approval of the preliminary development plan for the Eclipse Event Center PD 12-01. I'd like to open that public hearing. Before we get there, Mr. Tyson, would you please give us a quick overview? Or Gail. Ms. Noggle, please give us an overview. I'm so used to calling Garrett's name.
Okay, we're changing the format a bit, so
That'd be
thank
fine.
you for accommodating us. And, man, that's a hard act to follow, though, before on the Lady Tigers, so
You'll be fine.
bear with me.
No pressure.
We thought it might be helpful. Can everybody hear me okay on this as well? Is it picking up?
Yeah.
Okay. We thought it might be helpful in the planning department to give an overview of what's transpired on a project that's been in the works for about 12 months now. So we'll try to do this quickly and just touch upon the high points, but in the sake of memory and the positions you all take as City Council, we just wanted to try to lay this information out a little bit more systematically. We did this for P&Z, and it went well. I think they appreciated that. So here we go. This has been going on for about 12 months. April of 2011, ironically, after viewing on TV that a project in Christian County was meeting some substantial challenges, we contacted the individual that was on the news, Mr. Tim Chancellor. I hope you don't mind me using your name, but we've become very well acquainted over the last 12 months. And we asked them what they were looking for a project that was substantial in the Christian County area. We knew that it was 400 acres. We knew it was an equestrian park. We knew there were challenges faced with infrastructure as far as proximity to highways, to interstate, and invited them out to just take a look at what we had. At that point in time, I had not contacted any property owners whatsoever, and actually was showing them property that, when I say showing, I don't mean that as a realtor, but just presenting our community as an option in an area that was not annexed in yet, but was contiguous. So we knew it might be a good fit. After that point in time, and we did show 3 different areas of the Brookline community, they pretty much determined that there was about 1,100 acres that might be appropriate. So we went from a 400-acre development into an 1,100-acre development opportunity, rather quickly. Narrowed that down to one particular area, which is being presented to you this evening, which was presented at P&Z last week. The transaction has been a substantial one, with the fact that it has been not only annexed in, but the property arrangements and negotiations with the realtor and Eclipse have been with 11 different property owners. So this has been a substantial milestone just to get it to this stage. To this point, we have, as you know, annexed all the properties, and the developer has contracts with the landowners that will be affected with this. One thing that we would like to serve to you as a reminder, and this is probably a reminder more to us in the planning department because a project of this size is not every day, is this is a preliminary PDD. This preliminary PDD is not going to nail down every aspect, but it is to show the basic concept, character, and nature of the property. That is the whole intent of this process. At the second presentation of the PDD, that is when things get nailed down specifically. But we thought, due to the size, massive size of the project, that it would be helpful for council and also the citizens who come up to make comment to lay a little bit of groundwork here and hopefully serve as a springboard. At this time, I would like to introduce 2 representatives from CJW, and that is the engineering firm that Eclipse has contracted with. Kelly and Dane. Kelly is a stormwater engineer, and Dane is a traffic engineer. There are a lot of other details that have been hammered out, but two things that we felt as a staff and as citizen participation from P&Z needed to be brought forward early on is a little bit about stormwater and a little bit about traffic, which makes sense if you're a neighbor. So, Kelly and Dane, I'd like to bring you both up and just take a minute if you would. They will get into much more detail, obviously, as questions are asked.
That'd be fun. Thank you.
My name is Kelly Short, again, as Gail mentioned, with CJW Transportation Consultants. We've looked at this property and worked with city staff to locate approximate utility locations to where the entire, well, not the entire site, but the main core facility will be served by both public water and sewer. The existing lift station that's down on Sawyer Road will have to be relocated to the west in order to accommodate that. But functionally, those two services will be provided to that main facility and to the main, what you see as the main campus on the site. One issue that came up during the staff review was the size of the lake. We've done some analysis on whether or not the lake can be sustained by just an average evaporation and rainfall events. And even in the month of July, which is your critical month for the lake, it won't need any other, on an average year, it won't need any additional water in order to maintain water levels. That feature will also serve as detention, water quality, and also part of the feature for some of the geothermal units that will be used for this project. But that being said, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Dane. He's done the traffic study for this project.
Good evening. Like Gail said, my name is Dane Seiler. I'm a traffic engineer for CJW Transportation Consultants. We're contracted to look at the property and look at the development.
We cannot hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now? Is that better?
Move that microphone up there, Dane.
How's that?
Is that better?
Yep. Is that better? There we go. I can hear myself. We're asked to look at the traffic, see what this type of development generate. We conducted the preliminary report. What we looked at was what would happen if a concert event were to happen out at this site at the main event center during the PM peak hours. So when people are going home, that's typically your worst traffic period. So that's the period we tried to look at and analyze. With that, we came up with some infrastructure improvements that will be needed to be made along the roadways. That includes additional lanes along State Highway M from the interchange down to Sawyer Road, additional lane on Sawyer Road between State Highway MM and Farm Road 97, and then an additional lane also along Farm Road 97, at least up to our first entrance there. Our analysis showed that we could handle that traffic, and that those infrastructure improvements, if they were made, would be able to handle that traffic. Another two improvements that we showed were probably the warranting of two signals. One at State Highway MM and Sawyer Road would probably be needed, and then in addition, there would be a signal needed at James River Freeway off-bound ramp westbound and State Highway MM. And those were the main improvements that were shown during the traffic study. So, again, me and Kelly are both here. If you all have any questions of us, if you just let us know.
Before you go on, Gail, pull that down for you so you listen. Council, there'll be time for questions at the first reading, which will be later. We just want to give everybody an overview, make sure that we're headed in the same direction. So just want to make sure that council knows when to ask questions, when not. We will ask questions at the first reading. So, Gail, please continue with this particular informational portion of the public hearing.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, at this time we're going to have Garrett Tyson, our planner, come up and go over the process that has to be considered as a staff for this particular development. Lots of questions, lots of things that we still need to go over, but we would just want to do an overview, so thank you for our time.
Good evening. Can everybody hear me? This particular bill will rezone approximately 965 acres from the agricultural district to Planned Development District. This will be PD 12-01, and it will also approve their preliminary development plan, which is a partner to the rezone ordinance. The proposed development is contained within 2 general land use categories in 2 general locations. Those land use categories are agricultural, which applies to the property lying west of Farm Road 97. The other general category is very consistent with our C2 General Commercial District, and that applies to all of the property lying east of South Farm Road 97. The overall character of this development is an equestrian sport resort, and so it also contains a lot of uses that are incidental to that resort concept, those being nightly rental lodging, eating establishments, and lots of indoor and outdoor recreational opportunities that will complement the resort concept. Part of those incidental uses will also include non-equestrian special events in the large indoor arena, be things like concerts, motorsport shows, bull riding, etc. It is planned to contain a maximum of 690 lodging units that is spread out over the approximately 500 acres lying east of South Farm Road 97 and north of Sawyer Road. The most intensive of those commercial uses are going to be held very close to James River Freeway, with the lodging and less intense commercial uses lying to the west and south of those main event centers. The vehicular circulation system that Mr. Seiler just described includes 4 primary access points and feeds into a private internal road system that will be designed to meet city standards and specifications. The proposal contains over 600 acres of open space and 40-plus acres of surface water as both a public and private amenity for the site. The locations of the various elements of development and building will be generally conforming to what you see on that site plan that's shown there, and also in the preliminary development plan that you all were given. The project is planned to be developed in a single-stage continuous build, so it will not be in separate phases. Other necessary public improvements, one of them was already mentioned, the upgrade and relocation of an existing lift station further west from its current location on East Sawyer Road, and also extension of both public water and sanitary sewer mains to serve the property that is lying east of South Farm Road 97. The bulk dimension, signage, landscaping, screening, off-street parking, all of those elements of this development will either meet or exceed the city's regular, so to speak, regulations concerning all of those issues. And in most cases, this development is actually deferring to the city's regular conventional zoning regulations to govern those aspects.
Thank you, Mr. Tyson. As with any public hearing, we'd like to open it up now to anyone wishing to speak against this particular public hearing. Please step forward, state your name, sign in, and give us your best 3 minutes. This is against this particular public hearing.
My name is Larry Tucker, and I don't know that I'm against this, but it's certainly going to change my lifestyle that I've worked my entire life for, put in considerable time and money, and creating a home place for myself, which upsets me greatly. There's nothing that I can say here or do that's going to change any of your minds. I know you're after the tax dollars and the development and all that stuff, but it's going to basically ruin my life. I won't say ruin, but it's going to change it significantly. I live just to the west of the Rowetta property, which is the northernmost property to the west of 97, and I live just to the north of the Smith property that borders me on the south. So my property will be surrounded on 2 sides by this property. As I looked at this layout, traffic layout, it looked to me like out of the major events that approximately 80% of all the traffic of these places are going to be coming out on Route 97. And that means it's either going to have to go through Farm Road 144 up to N or back the other way, which is right in front of my house. There's going to be traffic. Who knows how much noise it's going to make and disturbance. That's not the way I've chose to live or conduct my life. I want to ask one question. If I understood one of the gentlemen, that the property to the west of 97 is going to be agriculture and it's not going to be rezoned. Is that correct? Somebody said that. At least I thought I heard.
There's a portion here, there's a portion of it, not all of it.
It's being rezoned to a planned development district, but within that planned development, they have designated all of the property lying west of South Farm Road 97 to be agricultural and to comply. For all intents and purposes, it will be very, very similar to the city's current agricultural district, which is what the property is right now.
Since it's in the
Planned development district.
planned development district, it would be no problem at all to convert that from agricultural to commercial.
It would not be allowed under the planned development district that they have submitted. That would not be allowed.
Of course not, they'd have to submit.
Right, they would have to apply again to the city.
Right, of course, but that's natural. You've got commercial development, agriculture next to it, let's take it. I'd like to also, has all of this property been annexed into the city?
Yes, sir. It was at a couple meetings ago.
And that wasn't done until after this project come about, right?
That was part of it. The individuals annexed the property in on their own. The individuals in on the property, and then
You suppose the price of the property had anything to do with that?
That's economic.
all I got to say.
All right, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak against this particular public hearing, please step forward, state your name, sign in, and give us your best 3 minutes. Anybody else? Seeing none, I'd like to open it now to anyone wishing to speak for this particular public hearing. Please step forward, state your name, sign in, give us your best 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Randy Tyndall. I live at 2383 South Farm Road 97. And as my neighbor here said, that when nobody out there considered selling their properties, we were approached. But
raise your mic. Yeah, there you go. You're a little bit taller than our normal.
Yeah. Like I said, nobody was even considered selling. But about a year ago, when they rezoned for McLean Enterprises, we knew the handwriting was on the wall. That it was either going to be a bunch of warehouses and apartments, or this here opportunity, which would be more natural environment for the people that we would be leaving behind, plus the fact of the jobs that would be generated for them. Like I said, I just wanted to I've kind of said this bill before, but I just kind of wanted to voice, a positive opinion, this would be a whole lot better than a bunch of, like I said, warehouses and apartments and the noise and everything else that would come with that. Like I said, I'll just leave it at that. I would like to say that I want to give kind of a thank you to the City Republic. Somebody dumped a dog on us, and we called the dog catcher, and they did come and get it.
Thank you, Mr. Tyndall.
Doyle Bishop. I live at Farm Road 156 and 7654, which is right across the road from this thing is proposed. I think it's impossible to say that 80% of the traffic would be going one direction and 20% going the other direction. I think it's too... You don't know, people coming from every direction, and they're going to go out the quickest way they can get. And I've been up in, St. Louis, the ball games, and they can get 80 or 90,000 people out of there in a matter of less than an hour. And I think the same thing would be here. And I'm all for it. I think it's going to create a lot of jobs. It's going to be good for the complete town of Republic and the surrounding area. I have nothing against it, and I'm 100% for it. And I thank you for my time.
Thank you, Mr. Bishop. Others wishing to speak for this particular public hearing, please step forward, state your name, sign in, give us your best 3 minutes. Anyone else wishing to speak for this particular item, please step forward, state your name, sign in, give us your best 3 minutes. Public hearing closed. I'd like to open it up now to citizen participation. Anyone wishing to speak to something not on the agenda, please step forward, state your name, sign in, give us your best 3 minutes. Mr. Vanderschaft, I don't think your item's on the agenda, so please come forward. I think I've got your card here, sir. So please step forward, state your name, and tell us what's on your mind, sir.
We'll keep it positive here tonight. I'd like to give some recognition to the city. With all of its different departments that are of value to the city, I'd like to kind of note 2 of them. Initially, the Republic Police Department, which, to advise my wife, who's a manager at McDonald's, is involved of responding to the burglary alarms. And at 3:30 or 4 in the morning, about a mile and a half or so away from McDonald's where we live, she has to respond. By the time she gets there, this has happened 2 or 3 times, there's already a police car on the scene, already solving the issue. And fortunately, both times nothing's happened, fortunately, but just a recognition. And then my wife passed on. And recognition to my wife, too. I guess I better say that. So stay out of it. Better get out there.
You probably should have been first.
Secondly, the Public Works Department. I advised Mr. David Brock about a street light that was out. It had been out for a little while. And it wasn't the night after I came home from work. He already had that up and rolling. It was already lit up, so... Just to give some positive recognition to the city, and appreciate your time, Council and Mayor.
Thank you. I'd like to also kind of follow up on Brian at Empire District Electric as well. They do a great job of keeping our lights up and running around the city. We call all the lights in all the time to Judy Kipp, the Public Works Department with David Brock. They call Empire, and Empire's usually out there within a week or two, so more like a day or two, because they have great response time. So, anything else? Anybody else wish to speak in anything not on the agenda? Please step forward, state your name, sign in, give us your best 3 minutes. Seeing none, citizen participation closed. Need a motion on the consent agenda.
Motion.
Second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Try that again. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries 7-0. On to financial report. More Guy Wright, please give us an overview, ma'am.
Do that. Well, these 2 reports that I have handed out tonight are positive also. One of them is for the sales tax, and it's just a basic idea of what our sales tax growth has looked like for the year to date, which we've only received 1 month so far, but it was positive in comparison to the prior 2 years. And so hopefully that will continue. That trend will continue. The motor fuel tax collections is the second report, and that has increased considerably due to the reallocation of the fuel tax to the City of Republic, and that is based on the state capita and the growth in the population of the city. So we will continue to see that growth continue. And Councilmember Grooms asked about what this funded, and it does fund the street and stormwater fund, and with a portion that's allocated to the general fund for police, law enforcement purposes. So it's another fuel tax. As you can see, compared to prior years, we have a growth of over 50%. So that's a good trend to continue for funding of our streets and stormwater.
Questions, comments, discussion with Ms. Gowrice? Would like to point out that fuel tax. You'll notice January for 2008, 2009, 2010, and 2011 are all within about $600 to $700. However, in 2012, we're at, as she said, over 50%. So our fuel tax has been pretty consistent. However, this year looks like it's up, and our sales tax is looking pretty strong too, up 22% over prior year for January. But trends can come and go, so we're just hoping that this stays the same. But on the rest of the financial report, including these documents, questions for board? Anything at all, council? Seeing none, need a motion to approve financial report.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
One thing. The last meeting we had, we brought the workers' comp insurance policy for approval, and we had made the comment at that time that if we could find another carrier that could come in with a lower policy or a lower premium, we would bring that back to council. I just want to let everybody know that we didn't find anybody that was any lower than our current carrier. So what was approved at the last meeting is obviously going to be followed up on, and that'll be our carrier for next year.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Derrickson, nothing? Okay. On to future community events. Mr. Keeling, welcome. You know, used to, when you had me read these things, you would have April 2nd, 16th, 23rd, 30th, all separated out in singles. Now you've condensed them down to one.
If you notice, too, we only go through April 8th on there.
I'm very impressed. I'm very
doing everything we can there.
Please go ahead, sir.
March 27th, April 3rd, 10th, 17th, and 24th, the Arthritis Foundation Exercise Program. That program is at 1:30 p.m. and it is free. March 29th, toddler tumbling session 2. 5:30 or 6:45 p.m. Pre-registration is required. March 29th, right here in this room right here, we'll be showing our senior citizen movies in March. That movie is The King's Speech at 2 p.m. We offer free popcorn and coffee for that. March 30th, April 6th, 13th, 20th, and 27th, toddler story time, 10:30 a.m. Free event, no registration is required. This Saturday, March 31st, our annual Easter egg hunt over at J.R. Martin Park. Don't forget your Easter egg basket, 10 a.m. J.R. Martin Park this Saturday. April 2nd, which is next Monday, everything for the Republic Aquatic Center more or less begins as far as season passes, registrations for swim lessons, things like that. April 2nd, 16th, 23rd, and 30th, toddler open gym at 10 a.m. That's next door in the activities building. That's $1 per toddler. April 5th, 12th, 19th, and 26th, Arthritis Foundation Exercise Program, 10 a.m. Once again, that is free. And we do offer a Schools Out program on April the 6th and 9th. That goes from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. and pre-registration is required. And also on Easter Sunday, April 8th, this Republic Community Center will be closed.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Keeling. Certainly appreciate that. Board Commissioners and Committee Reports, Board of Adjustments is April 5th. Capital Improvements Committee, April 17th. City Council is April 9th and April 23rd. And Planning and Zoning is April 16th. On to old business. Need a motion to have the second reading of Bill number 12-29.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, creating Section 205.080 firewalls, fire suppression regulations, and exterior finish requirements for multifamily residential structures located in zoning classifications R1Z, R2, R3, and Planned Development Districts.
Need a motion to have final passage of Bill number 12-29. Motion?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Before we get to the discussion phase, turn it over to Mr. Derrickson.
Then let me explain what's going to come out in discussion. If you'll recall, at the last council meeting, I believe it was announced that there was going to be some minor revision that wasn't substantive to get the council bill in a little better format, and that we would probably bring that back as a substitute council bill. So what you have before you tonight is the original bill and then the substitute bill. At some point, we will need a motion, kind of like a motion to amend, only this will be a motion to accept the substitute bill if council chooses to do that, second, and a vote, and that's what you will have the final vote on is the substitute bill if you choose to adopt that one.
Okay. Give us the overview, Chief, and then we're going to get to the substitute portion.
The original bill regulated firewalls within multifamily dwellings, duplexes, and also required fire suppression systems in multifamily dwellings. It also had a provision on the last page of the bill that regulated the exterior finish, requiring them to be non-combustible in multifamily dwellings. As you know, we've had a couple of apartment fires, mostly due to careless smoking on decks. After we had the last council meeting, it was 2-3 days later, we ended up in Springfield, downtown Springfield, off Battlefield Health in Springfield, with a large apartment complex fire there. Started with careless smoking on a deck. So Mr. Wilson had brought forth an idea of the non-combustible siding, so we got that rolled into this particular bill. That's all I have for the originals.
Okay. Now, we're at a point where we have some substitute bill, if council so chooses. If you would like to add that substitute bill in, we need a motion and a vote on that, and then Chief Compton, if that's what you want to do, Chief Compton will then discuss that. If you don't, Mr. Jackson, go ahead.
Unless, do you want to explain what the substitute, what was
I
that?
can do that. Yeah.
I think that'd be
right. Substitute bill, with the help of Mr. Tyson, he wordsmithed that and made it a lot easier for the lay person to read. The original bill made a lot of sense to me because it was written in code language. Made a lot of sense to our building inspector, too. But with the help of Mr. Tyson, he made it flow a lot better, wordsmithed a lot of things, and made it work a lot more workable document for the public to pick up and read. At the last council meeting, Mr. Klinkerbeard had asked that we have some kind of provision for us to do an inspection on the firewalls. On the last page of the substitute bill, letter E, we have added a provision in there. We felt like this was we felt like it's about the best we can do. We can't really go out and inspect the firewalls without going down the road of a property maintenance code, which we really don't want to go down that road. Mr. Derrickson went down that with the city of Springfield, and it wasn't a pretty ride, I think. It pretty much sums it up, doesn't it, Ron? So we felt that this was a pretty good trade-off to get what you were wanting done. If they do any work in the building, they have to notify us. Our means of notifying them is when they get their business license renewed each year, we'll stick a flyer in their license, and we send it back to them saying, hey, just FYI, if you're doing any work in the building, notify the city so we can come out to an inspection. We do inspect the apartments on an annual basis here in town, but we only inspect the common areas, the breezeways, if they have a on-site gymnasium or something, or a workout center, we inspect that. But we do not get into the individual apartments, and we don't get into the attics of the buildings.
With those additions that Chief Compton talked about, with the verbiage change, language change, the bill's basically, the guts of the bill are the same, it just reads differently, but the substantive change that we've had requires that we look at a substitute bill. It's basically the same, other than the wordsmithing and the two additions that he looked into. Does that clarify everything? Mr. Klinkenbeard, go ahead, sir.
I'll make the motion to amend or substitute the new language for the original bill.
I have a motion. Second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstention? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, continue with your description there, Chief Compton.
That's basically about it. Like I said, this will affect new apartment buildings and patio homes, duplexes that are constructed in the city. In the event we have a fire in the apartment building and there's more than 50% damage to the structure, the apartment building will have to be brought up to this new code. So it's just basically this point, once passage is new construction unless something dramatic happens at one of our existing facilities.
Okay. Thank you. Questions, comments, discussion for Chief Compton? Mr. Groves?
A couple of questions, Chief. Number one, you said obviously it only applies to new buildings, but the inspection plans based on somebody coming in and doing some work where they have to come in and get a permit, which opens them up to having the firewall inspected. Will that apply to existing structures now?
Some of the existing structures we have firewalls in them, and a good percentage of them do not. So if the few that we do have that have firewalls in it, yes, we would look at them to make sure they haven't been penetrated, and if they have been penetrated, the penetrations are sealed properly.
Okay.
But the ones that don't have them in there, we would inspect.
My second question, are the attics not accessible through the common areas, and if so, would they not be an extension of the common area?
It depends on how the architect designs them. Some of them are in electrical rooms off of the common areas.
The only reason I bring that up is obviously most breaches of the firewall are probably occurring in the attic.
Yeah, and it depends upon, sir, on the number of units, how it's laid out, how they've done that. Some of the older ones, yes. The ones at 1405 East Hines, the attic access is in the common breezeway areas. The newer ones at Old Stones, it's kind of tricky how they lay them out.
Okay.
Just depends how the architect lays it out when they build it.
Get your question answered? Okay. Additional questions, comments, discussion for Chief Compton? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Councilmember Poole? Aye. Councilmember Ward?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Councilmember Brashears?
Aye.
Councilmember Groom?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson?
Aye.
Councilmember Klinkenberg?
Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Chief. Need a motion of the second reading of Bill number 12-30. Motion. Second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, annexing approximately 71.6 acres owned by the state of Robert L. Blanton, located at 7306 West Farm Road 144 in Greene County, Missouri.
A motion to have approval, bill number, second, motion to have the second reading approved, bill number 12. Final approval, bill number 12-30. Motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, and a spout off from the attorney. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Hold on.
We discuss?
Discussion. I'll get it in a minute. I was reading down. Mr. Tyson?
You reverted to that 4 years ago.
I did, didn't I? My apologies, Mr. Attorney. Mr. Tyson, welcome back.
Thank you.
Please give us an overview before I screw it up again.
Sure. This bill will annex 2 tracts of land totaling, I believe it's about 72 acres. Both of these are located in the county's A1 agricultural district. They will come into the city, into our agricultural zoning district. The first tract, that is about 66 acres, is bisected by the James River Freeway. It is accessed on the south side by South Farm Road 97 and on the north side by West Farm Road 144. It contains a principal residential building and multiple accessory buildings. The second tract, which is about 5.6 acres, it lies completely southwest of the James River Freeway right-of-way, and it is not directly accessible by any public thoroughfare. Both tracts are located within the city's urban service boundary, and while they don't have immediate access to city water and sewer, they are serviceable.
Questions, comments, discussion for Mr. Tyson? Anything at all? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Councilmember Clinkenbeard.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson.
Aye.
Councilmember Groom.
Aye.
Councilmember Brashear.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Councilmember Ward.
Aye.
Councilmember Poole.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. On to new business. Need a motion to have the first reading of bill number 12-31. Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, amending Section 365.050 of the Traffic Code to enable the police chief and traffic engineer to establish time-limited public parking spaces.
Please give us the overview, Mr. Brock.
In the downtown area along Main Street, we have a good mix of merchants. A number of them have different operating hours. Their customers stay for differing lengths of time, and we've had a couple of requests from merchants in the 100 block of North Main Street that there's not enough short-term parking available. Other patrons will come and stay for a number of hours, and these particular merchants, customers come in and do business in 20 or 30 minutes. In trying to be responsive to this issue, we researched the traffic code and discovered we have a provision that allows for time-limited parking to be established, but nothing that is a short-term or a immediate response type. So the options would be for the council to specifically designate time-limited parking as they might care to do. Staff is proposing that you set up a general ordinance that would allow Public Works Director and the Police Chief to look at the situation to establish time limit parking as would suit the bill. This approach, we think, would allow us to be a little more responsive. It is not uncommon for merchants to change, or for hours to change, or for the parking conditions to change. So Bill 12-31 then modifies an existing section of the traffic code and sets out provisions for the police chief in conjunction with the traffic engineer, Public Works Director currently, to designate time-limited parking. For the specific complaint we have now, I think we're proposing a single, possibly two 30-minute time limit restrictions in the vicinity of the butcher shop or Minden Place. Those are the two businesses that are having difficulty getting parking for their customers nearby.
Questions, comments, discussion from Mr. Brock or Chief Lowe, since he is a part of this bill.
How are you going to enforce it?
Mr. Grooms, go ahead.
How will you enforce it?
This will not be easily enforced. I'm sure Mark will tell you that
Chief Compton?
Parking issues are at the bottom of the priority for all.
What we'll end up having to do is obviously work with the business owners to have them contact us, because we aren't in a position to be going by and chalking and doing things like that. So we'll be working with the business owners. We may do something like having some pre-printed warning tickets, so if they do see some violations occurring, that they can actually either call us or we'll come out, or they can actually put the warning on there if they see some violations. So we're hoping to get voluntary compliance. The goal is not to write tickets for it, but you just keep the business able to operate fruitfully and to hopefully get people to do things that they should do.
When traffic laws are clearly posted, you generally get pretty good compliance from folks. There's always those that will ignore the speed limit signs or the handicap parking signs. Particularly the patrons that come downtown, I think would be very respected.
Will you be using, we're talking about putting up a sign, talking about signage in the parking, in the sidewalks?
This particular location,
there's not a whole lot of room.
Have a attachment agreement with one of the owners to attach that to one of their awnings for.
Okay.
Additional questions, comments, discussion? Good questions. Mr. Harder?
I'm not following the awning support. How far does the awning support come out? Is that in the pedestrian walkway?
Yes, it is out towards the outer edge of the ramp.
And you've got specification of height limits on that also?
Yes.
Okay.
We use uniform manual traffic control devices, so it should be across the country, pretty comfortable at height and posting size and everything else, so we should be okay.
Additional questions, comments, discussion? This is a first read. If there are additional questions that you have between now and the next meeting, either ask at the next meeting or if you want clarification, please contact Chief Lowe or Mr. Brock. Thank you. On to the next item. Need a motion to have the first reading of bill number 12-32. Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to execute a road relinquishment agreement with the Missouri Highway and Transportation Commission to convey a portion of Old State Route MM.
Thank you, Mr. Brock. Please give us an overview, sir.
As the title states, this is a formal agreement with MoDOT to change a portion of existing state road over to city oversight. The section of roadway is typically called now the old MM Access Road, located in the southeast quadrant of the intersection of James River Freeway and M Highway. This is a piece of remnant road left from the construction of James River Freeway. Serves one home at the end of the road. It is not a typical road for MoDOT to maintain. Typically, they, like major thoroughfares, primary mission is for to move people across the state. It's more suitable for local roadway. I do believe that it would be advantageous for the city to accept management of this right-of-way as development occurs. I think we have a little more flexibility in MoDOT in dictating access points, road improvements, potential relocation of the roadway, or even ultimately the vacation of the road. So we have contacted MoDOT. They are agreeable. They do have a standard written contract for this procedure. It's two-step. One is the council authorizes the execution of the contract. The second step is we need to get the road surveyed, provide a legal description, and the state formally conveys that then with quick claim. So this ordinance here gets us over the first hurdle, and that is execute the contract.
Thank you, sir. Questions, comments, discussion for Mr. Brock? Mr. Wilson?
How long is that road?
It is not very long, just over a tenth of a mile.
Would you consider it a private drive rather than a city road?
No, it is a public street as of right now. It's MoDOT has a fee simple ownership in it. When they convey it to us, it will be conveyed as public right of way. Now any municipality then has a process that it could be vacated and converted to private property, but that's not the subject of this agreement. This agreement simply conveys it to the city as a public right of way.
That's your question? Additional questions, comments, discussions from Mr. Brock? Anything at all? So you've done this is a first read. If you have questions, comments, or clarification needed, contact Mr. Brock for the next meeting or ask at the next meeting. Thank you. Moving on to the next item on the agenda. Need a motion to have the first reading of bill number 12-33.
Motion. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to enter into a development agreement with the developers of the Eclipse Equestrian Event Center regarding development of properties currently under individual land purchase agreements in consideration for PDD zoning.
Thank you, Brenda. Welcome, Ms. Novel. You and Mr. Krishke, I guess, are going to tag team.
I think we're going to tag team, but I'm going to leave the hard stuff up to him. All right. Well, overview, just as we had mentioned earlier, we said several months, more like 12 months, we've been in discussions and negotiations with the Eclipse Center for development of approximately 1,000 acres. Along with that comes not only the process of the preliminary plan, as we talked with the PDD earlier, but also a developer's agreement, and that's kind of where the devil is in the details, and that's where we button up the hatch to get some items pinned down. The developer's requests have really been minimal. Some of the areas that I think that I'm going to let Jim touch upon are specifics in regard to the lift station, a couple of other areas as far as development and traffic studies are concerned. So at that time, I'll go ahead and turn this over to Mr. Krishke.
Okay, well, as Gail said, and she's mentioned this at numerous meetings, what is it, devils in details, is that what you say? Yeah.
Barrett, yeah.
Something like that.
Barrett said it backwards, I'm not sure.
But it's one of those. But anyways, the format that you see on the development agreement, this is very similar to what we used when the McLean Distribution Center came in, and that proved to be a real good working document for us. And so we based everything on this particular development. Of course, different circumstances, different situation, but we used that same outline to follow when we laid out all of the details here. These documents are great for the city, but they're also very good for the developers as well, because everyone, especially on a project of this size, needs to know exactly who's going to do what. If the city is responsible for a particular task, it'd be outlined in here. If the developer is responsible for a task, it's outlined in the development agreement as well. As Gail had mentioned, the developers have been very, very good to deal with. They've been upfront. They've pretty much have agreed to make the improvements that are necessary to make the project happen. And that doesn't happen very often when you have a development like this. You typically would find a whole bunch of concessions or incentives that are being requested. In this particular case, they've been very upfront with us, and they're not requesting anything that is really out of the ordinary. Some of the things that are in this development agreement that are specific to this site would be some of the questions that have come up during the process by some of the residents. The private wells, there's a section within this agreement that addresses that. There are 11 private wells that are on the property right now. Those were there, obviously, for all of the homes that were there, the agricultural uses that were in place. Of those 11, 8 of them are not going to be needed, so they would be removed, capped, or abandoned, whatever the case may be. 3 of them would stay up and operational, and those 3 would be used for the agricultural uses. As you can imagine, when they have a bigger event with all of the horses and in the area, that's going to be one of their needs. They have water for the horses. Other agricultural uses might be irrigation or that sort of thing. On the western side of the project, western side of Farm Road 97, there will be a private training facility. That particular area, and you can see it on the map, will be served by a private well and a septic system. It would be virtually impossible to bring public city utilities out to that site. So within this agreement, it'll designate that they're allowed to bring in a well and septic system to that particular part of the project. Otherwise, everything from traffic is addressed in here, stormwater for the runoff and for the lakes and ponds that are going to be on the project. Everything is pretty much laid out in this agreement. We can go through each and every section if you would like. We have 2 reads on this, so if there's anything that council sees over the course of the next 2 weeks, we can always run amendments to this at the next read. The same goes for the developers. If they see something in particular that they're not comfortable with, we've encouraged them to bring back their suggestions and comments as well. So this is just a great, like I said, working document that'll be very efficient for everybody once the project gets up and going.
If I may add, today we did receive a signed copy of the developer's agreement that has been reviewed by their attorney. In addition to that, you're going to notice reference to the developer's agreement as you go through that PDD. I'm sure you already have perused that. and those are the items that are addressed in the actual developer's agreement. One area that I feel like I do need to mention are the finance mechanisms that are available and may or may not be taken advantage of. As you all know, the majority of the City of Republic is outlined in an enhanced enterprise zone, which provides 50% state tax credit and a property tax abatement over a 10-year period. At this point in time, this project is being qualified. That doesn't mean they are qualified. Majority of time, the EEZ is designated for non-retail uses. Many of these components are going to be retail, so there is still some question and conversation going on with the Department of Economic Development. They are involved in this, and again, this may or may not qualify, but that should not make a difference on the progress of the project.
Before we get to questions, comments, Mr. Christie, you want to add one more thing?
There's so much to this, and Gail picked up on that one, and another one that I do want to mention because it has been a topic at virtually every meeting we've had about the traffic flow, especially when you have a big event, and it is virtually impossible, as we sit here today with nothing on the site, to be able to predict with 100% accuracy how all of the traffic is going to flow when we have an event. And what we have in the agreement is that annually we will sit down with the developers, the property management, we will look at the particular sites, and we will come up with a traffic plan that will work for the city and work for the development. They have agreed that when the time comes, they will contract with the city, whether it be all of our police officers or some from the county or what have you, but to do traffic control just like you would do in any event. So even though we've got a traffic study and traffic consultants on board, we still have that component within this agreement to make sure that we know as a city we're going to be sitting down with them and developing an annual plan, and they know their responsibility as well to make sure that we move traffic as efficiently and effectively as we can. So,
thank you. Questions, comments, discussion for Ms. Noggle or Mr. Krischke? We'll have to read. Mr. Hart,
on the private wells and private septic systems under Section 9, talking about adding a well and adding a septic system, or
yes,
not? Okay, we have an ordinance on the city that will not allow that in the city property. So how would we address that?
We follow the Greene County when the site is large enough. If it's over, is it 5 acres, David? I believe if it's over a certain acreage, we will allow to have, if there's no other available utilities, we can allow for private wells and private septic systems. And we follow the Greene County guidelines.
Okay. And to answer additionally, Mr. Harder, there's 11 wells and 11 septic systems right now currently being used on the properties in question. When those 8 are closed, 3 will be kept. You're adding 1. You're really net now 7 being closed.
Just want to make sure we're
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Everything else will be on city water and sewer. Thank you. Other questions, additional comments, questions, or discussion? Anything at all? There's a lot to this project. There's a lot of information there. I would ask that council go through the sections before the next meeting. This is a first reading. However, we will have another reading at the next meeting as a second reading. I would like to just make mention that the council that sits here currently, whether you're on council or you're not, I think Dr. Ward is leaving, so his vacancy will be filled. However, Dr. Ward will be looking at this document as old business, as we always do. So I just want to make sure that everybody's aware of that. Any additional questions, comments, or discussion? Okay. See, now we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. Need a motion to have the first reading of bill number 12-34. Motion?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Let's try that again. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, amending the zoning code and official map by changing the classification of approximately 965 acres located near the interchange of James River Freeway and State Highway MM, and also along South Farm Road 97 and East Sawyer Road from Agricultural AG to Plan Development District PD 1201, and the approval of the preliminary development plan for the Eclipse Event Center PD 1201.
Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Tyson. Please give us an overview, sir.
A lot of the specifics have already been addressed, so I want to allow time for questions and comments from the council. But one thing I would like to cover, Gail mentioned that this is a preliminary development plan that goes along with the rezone to the Planned Development District. It's meant to illustrate the concept, the character of the development. This will be followed by a final development plan that will go through the same process of approval that this went through, public hearings before the Planning and Zoning Commission, here before the City Council. It will contain the type of detail that you are probably more familiar with seeing on a preliminary plat, the type of engineering and particular designs that you'll see there. Given that that final development plan, the standard of approval there is that it is in substantial conformity to what you guys are considering now, this preliminary plan. We do expect there to be some adjustments between now and then as that engineering occurs. Some of those adjustments will likely come in the traffic area, something Jim had already mentioned, because some of these improvements, Mr. Seiler mentioned a lot of the signalization and lane additions, those are on thoroughfares that are beyond the City of Republic's jurisdiction and are controlled by the Missouri Department of Transportation. A more thorough traffic analysis will be required for the final development plan that MoDOT will have to review and approve separately from us, and so given that interesting element there and what they may or may not say, you can expect some changes there, but generally it will have to be in conformity to what gets approved tonight. One of the other adjustments that may need to happen, though it's likely not, there is just a little bit less than 5 acres of MoDOT-controlled, what they call excess property. That's not right-of-way, it's excess property, and we're in the process of getting that annexed into the city. Currently, MoDOT has not objected to it, and we're in about the middle stages of that process. They've asked us to treat it as if it were right-of-way for the annexation portion of it, so you guys will be seeing that come forward soon. If for some reason that doesn't work, then that will be one of the minor adjustments that the developer will have to make to avoid that particular small area of this property.
Questions, comments, discussion, go ahead.
One thing I'd also like to mention, this was heard before the Planning and Zoning Commission, and they voted by a vote of 6 yes and 1 person recused to recommend this bill for approval.
Thank you. Questions, comments, discussion for Mr. Tyson. Anything at all? Seeing none, this is a first read. If you have questions or comments, please review the material. Again, if there are questions, comments, if you need clarification, please contact Mr. Tyson, Ms. Nagle, or Mr. Christie for that clarification. And if you have questions between now and then, ask or wait till the next meeting. Thank you, Mr. Tyson. On to other business, resolution number 12-R-11, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, to authorize staff to distribute a request for proposal for citywide trash service. Is there a motion?
Motion. Second.
A motion and a second. Mr. Krischke, give us the overview, sir.
Well, and I apologize for just handing this to everyone at the meeting tonight, but it's been a work in progress up until probably about 5:30 tonight, trying to get this to a point where we can bring it in front of council. And what you have in front of you is a request for proposal, and that's what we're seeking tonight, is to be able to distribute this among all of the vendors in the trash business within our area. And what this will do is give them a period of time, which typically is around 6 weeks, to be able to review the city, review their pricing and what have you, and be able to submit a proposal to the city for citywide trash. Everything within this document either follows our set standards and procedures that we have for request for proposals, but more importantly, we utilize a request for proposal outline from the city of Nixa. They went through this process a few years ago, and instead of trying to recreate the wheel and write something from scratch, we got a hold of theirs, revised it, and to what it is the focus group had requested that we do, and put together this document. So what I've done is given everybody a copy of it, and what I've tried to do, and there may be other things in here that you have questions about, but I tried to highlight what I felt was the most pertinent parts of the agreement, and it starts really on it would be page 3 of the document. First is just what we're describing. It is that the city is seeking, and that is a residential trash pickup and residential recyclables pickup once a week. Large household items to be picked up on an on-call basis. That's pretty typical. That would be an expense that a citizen would bear if they had a larger item that they wanted to have picked up. So that would be just something that would be available to the general public if they needed it. And then another component that was important to the focus group was a semi-annual citywide residential pickup. Put April and October, that would seem to be the general months that they would like to see that happen, and that would be one of those days of the week where people would be able to set out, all of their, spring cleaning items or whatever, and they would be able to have those picked up, provided they weren't an excluded item. But so those were the bigger 3 items. I did highlight the date. I just want to make sure that I had the correct date up there. November 9th is when we informed the trash companies of our notification of going through this. We're intending this to be for single-family residential units, duplex. I put 3-plex in there. That probably should be triplex units, but anything that is not your larger apartment buildings, it would be everything 3 units and below is what would be serviced by this. And we have approximately 5,134 of those type units in the city. One of the areas that would need to be determined is when we would start this contract. I put down in here arbitrarily January 1st of 2013, just the start of the new year. We would be able to start it at any time after November 9th. So we do have to wait until at least that time, but January 1st just happened to be the date that I put in here, but that could be changed. And again, following the same format as Nixa, they had a 5-year agreement. Ours would then terminate December 31st of 2017. Paging through, if you get to page 6, it goes through the requirements on insurance. Most of those are going to be statutory limits that we would require, so that would be pretty typical of every vendor that we do business with. Performance bonds, on page 7. Again, this is consistent with what Nixa has done, and they're asking for basically 3 months of service to be put in a performance bond. So that way, in case something happens, obviously they go out, they would give the city 3 months of reserves to be able to get the work completed until we found a new vendor. Hours of operation was discussed in pretty great detail in the focus group. Nixa had in there hours of operation from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. We shortened that from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., thinking that we didn't want to get too late in the evening. 7 a.m. was a questionable time if that was too early to get started. We went round and round on the days that we would allow for pickup to occur in the city. You'll see in here that it would be the first 4 days of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, that they would be able to pick up within the city limits. Earlier today, I had just Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then after we had talked about how if we narrowed down that time frame, it might exclude some vendors from being able to bid if they didn't have enough equipment to be able to service the city in that amount of time. So we added an extra day, but again, that can be changed. The routes of collection, we're just requiring the contractors to give us a route and days of collection so that we have that for our records. There's a holiday schedule in there as well, and allows for the contractor to have flexibility. If a pickup day falls on a holiday, they have an extra day to be able to pick that up during the week. Complaints, one of the important things here is that the city would not be responsible for taking calls from the citizens. Of course, we will get some. There's no doubt that people will still call the city when there's a problem. However, it's required that the contractor, whoever that would be, would have a number. That number would be the one that we would publish on the bills and on the website and everything else of who you need to call to complain or get your trash picked up if there's a mistake or what have you. So hopefully the bulk of the phone calls would go to the contractor. Collection equipment, that was a big thing in NICSA. They wanted to make sure that they had a list of all of the equipment that the contractor could provide to the city. So we added language in there at the bottom of page 7. Page 8, you'll see that's where most of the highlighted areas are. These are things that were not in the NICSA agreement, and we added to there so we can clarify exactly what we're looking for. NICSA had required garbage pickup at curbside, and it was just garbage. They were not responsible for picking up recycles at the curb. They maintain a recycle center for the city, much like we have now, where people were able to go and drop off the recyclables, but they didn't get picked up curbside. The focus group wanted to include curbside pickup of recycles, so in here you'll see the explanation of what we're requesting when it comes to recyclables and having those picked up at the curbside. We talked about what kind of cart they would be providing, and I put this in there not just knowing that I'm used to a 65-gallon cart, and I would, if anybody has any other ideas on there, I assume that is a fairly typical size that is used in by most trash companies. So that was outlined in here, so there's no confusion on what they would be bidding on. Added language that if they had an alternate cart size, that they can submit a supplement or an attachment to this with different pricing, but 65-gallon cart for both the garbage and the recyclables are included. One of the things that has been an issue, and we've talked about for quite some time, is the billing and collection services. In order to be able to receive an administrative fee out of this contract, we've determined that we need to provide a service as well, and that service that we can provide probably, cost-effective and the least amount of time would be the billing service. We've got the ability on our water and sewer bill, there's an extra line that we could add in trash pickup if it were approved, so we can charge and bill the customers along with their water and sewer bills. So that would be a service that the city would pick up, and that would go out, just as our water and sewer bills every month, it would go out for that. For that particular service, we've asked the vendors to supply a percentage of the bill each month that would cover the administrative expense, and that would be something that would be reimbursed to us. So payments would come into the city, we'd send the bills out, payments would come into us, we would take off that particular percentage and retain that for the city to cover our expenses, and then we would turn around and remit the amount to the vendor on a monthly basis. Another portion that's in here that really was not talked about at the focus group very much, NICSA had done this, and there's pros and cons of this about a senior citizen's discounted rate. If you do get a discount on senior citizens, what I've seen is it's not a very big discount. It's really relatively small, and sometimes it just pushes everybody else's rates up. So that may be something that City Council may or may not want to keep in the proposed request for proposal. There's a couple of other things further on down in the page 9 and 10 where included within the contract, or in the proposal rather, we're asking for them to include pickup at all of the city-owned facilities, and I've got a list of those facilities on page 10. Currently, we have an agreement in place through the end of this year for pickup of all of our garbage at all of those locations. NICSA was able to roll that into their overall city contract, and the contractor picks those up at no charge to the city. They also, back on page 9, provide trash service for a number of events within the city. Ours that we picked out would be Pumpkin Days, Have a Blast, and then we have one other event, which would be 3 for the year that we've included in here. That's consistent with what NICSA has done. That can or cannot be kept in the contract. And then the rest of it is more or less just your typical disclaimers and language in here that we put into all of our requests for proposals, and then there's also some basic bid forms in here as well that we would be submitting. And that's it, I guess.
That's a good overview. Before we get into questions, I would like to and I've got one person that would like to speak as well. The history behind trash service in Republic goes back quite a few years to 2000, and I think it's 5 or 6. It was brought forward to start the process, and it was voted down. However, at that time, not quite sure we had all the complete information. In 2009, you have to give 2 years. This council voted to go ahead and start that process to look at trash service throughout the city. Back, that was 2 years ago. And that's the point we are at now. The goal in mind at the time, and with this proposal and some of the things, is to alleviate some of the traffic on our streets, to come up with a flat, hopefully a lower fee. It may come back that we don't have a trash service that can provide the entire city. You never know. All you're asking to do tonight is to send that request to the trash companies. It has to come back as a bid, just like we do with anything else in our department. If we have trash companies that come back and the bid is low, or we have some good bids, then it comes before you as a council to say this yes or no, this is what we want to do. What we're asking, staff's asking you to tonight is to send this particular proposal out, this request for proposal out. We wanted to make sure everybody's on the same page. Typically we don't vote on sending requests out, but in this particular case, we want to make sure that this one is, you guys understand every piece of that we're talking about. So, before we get to questions, I know some of you have some. Mr. Paul Ivy would like to speak. He signed a card tonight. Remember, Mr. Ivy was at our last meeting. I told him to come back, and he did. And I appreciate that, Paul. So, back to the punishment, Mr. Paul Ivy, 421 Murphy Drive, correct?
Yes.
You have the floor, sir, for 3 minutes.
And I'd like to start out by saying thank you for emptying the room.
Well, we could have moved it up. If I'd have known that, I'd have moved it up.
I appreciate that. I didn't read the overview, but that was quite helpful. That gave me a lot of information I didn't know already. I've done some research, and I've researched some other communities that have done it and read what they provide and kind of concerns that I have of what they do. You said that it was going to go to duplexes, triplexes, and stuff like that. Who's going to be liable for that? The owner of the property or the owner or the tenant?
I may look over to Ron on this one. I think it would have to get down to the landlord arrangement that you would have. Some landlords, particularly on their duplex side,
right,
they will cover their utilities, whether it's water and what have you. They'll pay it directly and include it into the rental payment, the monthly rental. Others, we have an auto landlord agreement on utilities, so we'd have to follow that same procedure. But ultimately, I believe it falls to the property owner that would be responsible for any.
I would say we would mirror it after what we're doing already in those situations for our other utilities.
So it would fall on the property owner?
Not necessarily.
It would fall on the tenant?
It would be who comes in and signs up for the service.
Whoever signs up for the service. Okay.
Same way with water and sewer.
Springfield, Massachusetts, if you don't pay your bill, they'll put a lien on your property. So if you had a tenant that was paying the bill and didn't pay the bill, that really sucked for the owner to have a lien on his property because the tenant didn't pay the bill. Just a thought. You said there was a thing in there for the 3-month thing, so that if there was a strike or something, we would have somebody come pick up our trash.
There's a performance bond that would cover virtually 3 months of service if for some reason the vendor were to go out of business, you know.
I know we don't have a lot of unions in this area where their strikes are a concern, but maybe Waste Management decides tomorrow that they don't want to do it and they happen to be our provider, and then we're toasted. So
well, we're covered under
we covered that one.
Yes, sir.
Are we going to be forced to recycle?
The way this is written would be curbside recycle.
Not offered, but I'm saying, I'm not asking if we're going to be offered, but are we going to be forced? Springfield, Massachusetts, you are required to recycle.
No,
part of the city ordinance.
I don't believe we would be able to enforce
tenant gets
it.
to request which cart he would like, is what it says in our deal.
Yeah. But we have a recycling right here down the street, so.
Right, and I think recycling is great for those that care to do it.
Yep.
And you said that there was just going to be the billing process, so we probably wouldn't have to add any staff to take care of this since we're not taking care of the troubleshooting.
Correct.
Correct.
And
Paul, before you go on, that was the biggest concern when this came before council was who was going to bill it, how it was going to get billed, and who was going to troubleshoot it. So I want to let you know that was the biggest concern before. That has been solved now.
Okay.
So you're right on the same page with us.
And then I guess the only last thing I've got is kind of something that I just couldn't believe that was said, that they were going to pick up the city's trash at no charge. So
yes, I mean that mirrors what
you mean no charge to the city, because it's still going to cost them money to do that, so somebody's going to pay that.
Well, yeah, sure. I mean,
it's going to get added into all the individuals.
Right, they're going to look at the overall service of the city and then factor in whatever they need to do for community-wide events and just so you
add
know
that to everybody's bill, just like
the thought process behind that, so that people don't think that, my goodness, the city is getting something. These facilities are all available to the public.
Right.
And whether or not we pay for it within that service or whether or not we pay like we do now in a contract, somehow, some way, the city is responsible for that. I mean, one way or the other, it all goes to the end at the residence. I don't want people to get confused and think that, you know.
No, I don't want you to misunderstand me. I know that you weren't trying to say that we were going to get it for free. That wasn't the ulterior motive, was to get free trash service. I did not.
Heavens, there's so many more residential than what we have.
I did not.
We got 8, 10 trash dumps, something like that.
I wasn't implying that you were.
Oh, no, I just
doing
wanted to
this
make
to get the free
sure.
trash service.
Some way, somehow, the city will have to pay for it. I mean, there's no way around it.
Right.
So.
Can I make a comment here? I just did a quick calculation, and I think the current city contract is allowing $1,100 a month. If you divide that by the 5,100 homes or so, it's less than 20 cents that would affect. But, if they did put it in there, it's not a huge amount of money. Obviously, they've got to pay to have it done. One way or the other, somebody, like you said, is paying for it. But the spread is very minimal, and like the city administrator said, the public's using a lot of those recycling or dumpsters and things at the parks or different places.
That recycling is packed over there every time I'm over there.
Yeah, I do wish that they would change the hours on that a little bit. It's a little inconvenient, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, closed at lunch.
Yeah.
One Saturday a month, though.
And we do have recycling, I think, if I'm not mistaken, in the city at yard waste today. Yard waste. That's what I'm thinking. I'm sorry. So, what else? Go ahead, sir.
That's pretty much it. I just soon take care of my own trash service, though, but that's my concerns at this point.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All good questions. Okay, council. Questions, comments, discussion. Mr. Harder?
Is there going to be anything for yard waste? If you say recyclables, they're not going to do anything for yard waste, that's not in the proposal?
That is not in the proposal. Nixa did include a yard waste pickup, but focus group did not want to include that in it.
And also, there would not be an increase in price over the contract time, is that correct, or is that?
The way that bid form, which is on page 10, it asks for unit pricing for the first 5 years.
Okay.
So yes, there would be an increase.
So there would be an increase in gas
Possible,
price.
somebody may just come in and say, I'm going to blanket it and go that way.
Okay.
But it's up to them. It's up to the trash company. Mr. Flickenbeard, then I'll come back this side. Go ahead, sir.
Neil, do we need to make a motion to change something on the RFP if we decide to? Okay. Yeah, sure. Okay. Well, I'll put it up for discussion first. On the bottom of the second page of 18, on the senior citizens discount, there's a couple of things. I would suggest that we remove that.
Bottom of page 8?
Page 8, I think, yeah.
Yes, sir.
There's a couple different directions on this. One, you might have people that are unemployed or disabled or other people that might want to qualify for a discount, and you start going down that road if you only choose, one demographic to get a discount, then what about the other ones? The second thing is that just like he mentioned on the city trash being thrown in, if you go to a carrier and they have X cost involved, and they have to factor in a senior citizens discount, they're just going to bump up enough other people, the rest of the rate to cover it. So they're getting that money one way or the other. So the rest of the city is basically subsidizing one demographic group, and nothing against senior citizens or anything, so don't get me wrong. But if we basically single out one demographic to get a discount, not others that could be very fitting for a discount, I think you just go down a road where certain people feel that they maybe have been excluded from something. So my motion would be to remove the senior citizens discount from the RFP.
Okay. Motion, can I take discussion? Okay. I have a motion to remove that. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion, second. Discussion before the vote on that particular item.
Surprised Jim didn't put in 55.
I did. Jim put that in there today.
You might qualify for really a 50.
No, I agree with what Councilmember Clinkenbeard was saying, is that when you start making exclusions, where are we going to start? So, that's, why set the precedent?
Yeah, our goal is to get the lowest rate for all citizens, was what the focus group's goal was.
And again, not anything against the senior citizens, but...
Right, no.
No, it isn't. Sure it is, once you submit it.
If it does help, the discount wasn't, it wasn't substantial. The rates, depending on the city, and we'll see what the rates would be here for Republic, but in other cities you looked at, the overall rate was comparatively low, and the discount that they would allow towards seniors wasn't substantial. I don't remember what it was, but it wasn't like dollars a month. It was a smaller amount.
But even if the rate was, say, $10 and you gave them 50 cents off, what will happen is everybody else's will be like 10 1/4 to give 50 cents off. So the senior citizen get $9.75 and everybody else at 10 1/4 when everybody could have had 10. That was kind of how we looked at it.
I don't care.
Okay. Mr. Cruz, go ahead.
Well, I just have a question and a statement. Actually, I have contradicting statements. Number one, it's a senior citizen discount is very common, as a very common discount, whereas an unemployment discount is not. So that's really apples and oranges. That said, I believe Mr. Derrickson's already referred to this as a utility once, and I don't know of any utilities that do give senior citizens discounts. So there's my contradictions. I just wanted to throw both of them out there. My question is if this goes out as an RFP with that in there, how is any particular service to know how many citizens are going to receive a discount?
That's a good question.
And then
Doesn't the census?
Then there's the managing of it also. It's, my birthday's today, and
I want my discount.
I want my discount today, it's managing that discount.
All right. Thank you. Any other contradictory statements or questions?
Not in the foreseeable future.
Those are good, though. Ms. Poole, you go right in.
Well, when they started the focus group, I was given a piece of paper by Jeff, and I want to know how he came up, or how your group came up with these figures without a proposal from a trash company.
Sure.
I mean, this looks like that it's cut and dried for what you had, and I don't see how it's possible for you to come up with all these figures without the RFP being, without us having that. How could you come up with all this?
When we started the focus group, what we did was we went out to, I looked all over the place for other cities that had done this, and a couple of them, one including the city in Colorado, I believe it was, paid, a lot of money to have a huge study done, and went through, and so I took the averages from some of these other studies that were done and showed, and then look at, for like the numbers that we might get on bids coming in. We looked at some of the cities around here with the same carriers that are going to bid us, like a Nixa or an Ozark. So we took those average numbers to come up with just an idea so the focus group could see, because our goal in the focus group was to, one, save the citizens money, so we needed to find an average. And then the things like the wear and tear on the road, for instance, the information about a trash truck causes the same amount of damage or wear and tear on a road as 1,500 cars going across it. So on a subdivision where you have, say, 6 trucks a week, you're having 1,500 times 6, whatever that number is, it's a lot. Cars worth of, damage going across your asphalt roads. Those were things that were done in a paid study by a consultant by another city. And so we took all that. What we wanted to do before we made a final decision, like you said, is we wanted to get actual numbers now for the City of Republic. All this RFP will do is bring back those actual numbers so that we can take, like the sheet I made, and say, they're going to give us a $10 or $11 a household rate, here's our exact savings. And then put that together and then bring it back to council so that we can make a decision based on the actual numbers for us. So yes, the initial sheet that I had was an overview of these are the potential things that we could do. This is why we should do a focus group. This is why we should do an RFP, is that these are the numbers that are potential. And now we're at the position of getting the actual numbers back, and we can, if it comes back and they all bid $18 and we can go out and get a $14 rate on our own, then obviously the council will probably say no. But this is to confirm those types of things that we found on the focus group. And Shane may be able to expand upon that since he was on that group as well.
I think you did.
On this,
Hold a second.
I'm sorry.
Before you go any further, I still have a motion on the floor.
I was going to say.
Second, regarding the senior citizen. Do you have any comments on that before we get, because that's the motion on the floor. If we get through with that, then we can come back to your list of questions. Anything on the senior citizen discount?
I've never been one to fight about a senior citizen discount, so
That's not true. I heard her arguing with the waitress at Ruby too.
bother me one way or the other.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to come back, as soon as we're finished with this portion, we'll come right back to you. Is that fair enough?
All right.
Okay. Any other discussion, comments, or questions on the motion that's on the floor to remove the senior citizen portion of that on the bottom of page 8? Anything at all? Mr. Grooms?
No, sir.
Okay. Starting to look like
Call
you're
the vote.
contradicting
Call the
yourself.
vote.
You look like you're going to contradict yourself again. Anything else? Okay. A motion on the floor and a second on the floor to remove that portion of the RFP. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? One abstention. Motion carries 601. Okay, now we're back on the floor. That has been removed from the RFP. Make sure that that is removed as we go forward. Ms. Poole, back to you.
Well, with what they came up with, it says that we'd have $60,000 annual city revenue up to $90,000. If we're not going to make money off of this, how can we say that we're going to have that much revenue?
Or is that to me, or do you want to answer that?
I'm going to jump in there.
Yeah.
This is not a money, if you want to make money on it, then we're going to put it to a vote of the people, because then it becomes a Hancock issue.
That's correct.
All we can recover is our cost.
It's an administrative fee.
costs.
Yes.
Which are built,
That's where I was coming from, because I know that we can't make a profit on stuff like that.
Go to page 8.
It can cover billing and...
Billing collection, page 8. I want to make sure everybody's on the same page. Go to page 8, down toward the bottom, you'll see the list. Billing and collection services and administrative expenses. That is where what you're referring to comes back to that. That is where we have to recover our costs for billing, collection, and the administrative expense that goes through our finance department and our utility bill. Just like we have to recover our expenses for water and sewer, same thing. So, go ahead. Go ahead.
How are we going to educate the people to let them know what's really going on? I mean, personally, I've had the same trash service for 31 years. I'm not really crazy about changing my trash company. How will John Doe find out? Because all we plan is a couple of little town hall meetings, maybe one. In a town hall meeting, you don't get very many people to show up. We've tried that before, and we get very, very small response. I suggested, and I still feel the same way, that we should be able to vote on it in an election. I know it costs a little money, but if we're going to spend money for looking at how to decorate a sign that the senior historical society wants to put up, it seems to me that we could put this to a vote and people would have a say in it. I think it's wrong for the city government to tell people what we have to do. That's my opinion expressed.
No, I appreciate it. But I want to help. You had a question though too in that. Your question was how to educate.
Yes.
Okay, that's how to educate.
That is my question.
Okay.
That's one question.
Okay.
Because you know yourself.
I do.
That it's very hard to inform people, and what we put in the water bill, even if we took a survey in the water bill, that would be better than nothing. But I still think that the citizens should have a right to vote.
Before you get to Ms. Poole, you asked a question about education again. I think that...
how are we going to educate the people?
And honestly, I don't have an answer for you other than the fact that if we get to the place where we're going to have to, like you said, town hall meetings, you're going to have something. You have something in the water bill every single month. It's going to have to go out in the newspaper, I'm sure. Mr. Squibb would be nice enough to write an article on it. But it is going to have to be an education process, and the trash companies themselves will educate them as well. And the other trash companies, whoever, if we even have a bid that wins, will have to educate as well. So it's going to be a multi-pronged approach to answer your question.
But by the time the trash company gets it, to educate them, their choice has been already done for.
I understand you, but you asked the question. I'm just trying to answer your question.
I
understand what you're saying.
I hope you do.
Oh, I do. I do. But my opinion doesn't matter. Mr. Harder?
Well, evidently mine doesn't either, but I
yours
expressed
does.
it anyway.
Yours does, because you were on the board at the council at the same time I was. Mr. Harder, go ahead.
did we, I mean, in one of our citizen surveys, didn't we have something about the trash service? Okay, so that's, so as far as to address survey going out in the water bill, we had, I think that would address that. And as far as education, you brought up the point about the newspaper and our city news site, website, and all this. If we were to go through on this, is there any way we could get a notice to all existing companies to say that we're going to move forward on this, and this is our primary carrier, to let them know, to help with the education process? Just a question.
The answer to the survey question, it did go out at the last citizen survey, and there weren't any particular details with that. It was a fairly generic question about, I think, do you prefer to have citywide trash service, and I can't remember how it was worded, but I do remember the results where the results came out in favor of doing the citywide trash service. However, the two largest blocks of survey results were those in strongly opposed and strongly in favor of it. And you can tell just by looking at that it was a very
close.
Well, it was close, but it was also a very contentious subject for some people.
Well, I know the focus group, just the wear and tear on the streets alone, the savings on that. I mean, that there's to save the city itself tons of money, I would think. Having 5 trucks, 5 different trash companies going through my neighborhood once a week, going to one once a week. I mean, right there, we just resurfaced our road, and you can't tell it. So, because all the traffic we have through there. But anyway, I had something else, and I've forgotten what it was now. It's fine.
I'm not finished.
You go right ahead, Ms. Poole. Take all the time you need.
When we sent out the citizen survey, how many houses did we send it to?
I don't remember. It's
was
typical.
Wasn't it 3,000? We got 700 responses back.
Which is about...
That's not a very good percentage.
Wow.
If we have 14,000 people now in our city, and at least 5,000 probably houses, I think that's what you guys are figuring on, 5,000 houses. I just don't think that the survey would be a fair shot.
Ms. Poole, if I can get my calculator to work, there it is. Believe it or not, a response of 700 out of 3,000 or something like that.
Well, it's good.
23% is excellent.
I realize that.
And you have to remember, too, that we, over the years, in all the citizen surveys we have, we always get back more than, statistically, we should get back. So the ones that we do get back are the ones that are adamant about it. And to your point, 700 responses out of 3,000 is fairly good. And at the same time, you're going to have, let's just say it's 50-50. 350 adamantly for it, 350 adamantly against. So as far as statistically, we're right there where we need to be.
And Mr. Ivy asked the question that I was going to ask, what if you choose not to recycle? Will you be forced to?
No. No. It's an option.
And I don't mean to stop you, but I want to make sure that I have this correct before it would go out. The way this reads, that each residence would be provided with 2 cards, one for garbage and one for recycled. And everybody then would have that available to them. Whether or not they roll that card out and recycled or not would be their choice. But the way it is set up is that they would be provided with 2 cards.
It sounds like it's forcible. That we have to enforce it.
Just so I was clear on this.
Yeah, if you don't want to recycle, you don't have to recycle. We recycle downtown, so I probably wouldn't use the service. I recycle downtown anyway, so.
That's the way I feel. And we've had the recycling downtown a lot longer than we've had a trash service that does it. Although my trash service will do it, but I've never used it. When I first came here, they brought me this little recycling tub, and I don't know whatever happened to it, but I don't use it.
Just so that on the recycle part, they would be provided with it, whether they do it or not, would be their option. I did, just in the event, the city decided we're not going to do recyclables, we're going to leave them in the citywide recycle center. I've asked on the bid form for those two amounts to be separated. So one line item would be the regular, ordinary garbage pickup, and then the next line item would be what the recycles would be. So it would give us options, once the bids came back, to look at that and determine exactly what services we did want to offer. So I did ask for two clear-cut costs to be submitted by the vendors.
Yeah. I think the only fair way to do this would be for the citizens to vote, and if the majority of the citizens want it, I'm for it. If they're not, I would be for it if I knew that the citizens really wanted it. But as far as the people that I've talked to and people that's talked to me, most of them don't even know that we're doing this until we start talking about it.
Well, I can say the same thing on my side, because most people I've talked to said they're for this. So.
Well,
I would like to add, too, that we started this process 2 years ago.
I know that.
And so it's not like this is the first time we've dropped it on anybody. And I would like to add, too, your point's well taken, Ms. Poole, that, the citizens are, I understand what your point is. However, I guess I would say, what if it comes back 50-50 again? Then it comes right back to you guys.
You have to break it, buddy.
No, it comes right back to you as a city council, because you represent 15,000. Yeah, you would have to break that. So it all comes back to, as representatives, as representative democracy that we live in.
If we can come up with some way to educate the people, where that more than just a half dozen that's going to show up to a meeting. If there's some way to do that, it might put a different outlook. But right now, I absolutely think that the government, city government, as well as the big government's getting into too much of our own private business.
Fair enough.
You don't have to agree with me. I don't have to agree with you.
Ms. Poole, you would know me by now. I will not agree or disagree with anybody on this council in open session.
Well, that's
my opinion does not matter. Mr. Cruz, go ahead.
If I would like to throw a kink in this. Because that's what I get paid to do.
Contradictory and don't stuff. I'll go ahead, Mr. Grooms, please.
Given the contentious nature, from the survey, it's pretty well split, and as you pointed out, it's either extremely for or extremely against. And given that this was handed to us 10 minutes before the meeting started, I would like to table this resolution, the vote on this resolution, until the next meeting, so that we have an opportunity to go through this and actually look at it.
Is that your motion, sir?
That is a motion.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion on tabling this particular... Nope, no. It's a vote? Okay, straight up. All in favor say aye to table.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, no? No. Any abstentions?
I said no.
Motion carries 5-2-0. That's correct, isn't it? Fantastic. All right. Thank you. On the next item. Resolution number 12-R-1.
I'd like to interject one thing, Mr. Mayor. Jim, you did a great job of running down through this, but I'd like to have the opportunity to read it.
I agree.
I'm offended. Don't worry.
I just wanted to point that out. It was nothing against your overview. I think you covered it well.
I have a question on that. If it comes back at next council, is that considered an old item that the current council would do before new council members would be read in?
Yes, it's under old business as a
okay, because then we'd have to go through all that and shove it down the road again. So that was my concern.
No, you're okay.
But we'll get a second read, though.
On a resolution.
You go for an RFP. Resolution. It will be under old business, but everything under old business is usually a second read. This will actually be the resolution under old business, under the same number.
Thanks.
Everybody okay with that? Everybody understand where we're at? Fantastic. On the next item, resolution number 12-R-12, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, approving the purchase of a new half-ton cargo van for the Facility Maintenance Division of the Parks and Recreation Department. Need a motion?
Motion.
Second. Seven motions and a second. Welcome, Mr. Keeling. Please give us an overview, sir.
Thanks, sir.
You're welcome.
This is part of an ongoing effort to update our fleet. If you remember, in 2011, we made our first vehicle new purchase in 2004. So one of the areas where we're definitely looking to improve. This vehicle would take the place of a 1997 Ford Ranger that currently serves our facility maintenance division. We have two gentlemen working out of that right now. We solicited bids. We received 3 back. Always appreciative to get bids back. The first bid we received was from Friendly Ford out of Springfield in the amount of $16,928. Received a bid from Jimmy Mitchell Motors in the amount of $17,842, and from Republic Ford in the amount of $18,482. We did budget $19,000 for this item in this year's budget, and we are recommending to go with Friendly Ford for the purchase.
How much was in your budget?
19. So coming really good. We're happy with that.
Good. Questions, comments, discussion? This is going to be used to haul trash.
How many cars would be equivalent of that?
I'm not going to say there won't occasionally be a trash bag.
I just wish Mr. Hunsinger was here to take an opposite opinion. Any pertinent questions, comments, discussion from Mr. Keeling? Anything at all? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. I used to think Ward 4 was the class of this council, but obviously that's not the case anymore from one side. Not you, Charlie.
Thanks.
I'll clarify that. Resolution number 12-R-13, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, selecting an architectural, engineering, design, and consulting service company for the design and construction process of an amphitheater in the Republic Veterans Memorial, and authorizing the city administrator into a contractual services agreement with the chosen company for said services. Need a motion?
Motion.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Mr. Keeling, please give us an overview, sir.
Certainly. I do want to provide just a little bit of history real quick. 2011, we had a really good year in terms of sales tax. Part of that was because we did receive additional sales tax funds from the Greene County sales tax based on the 2010 census. So did have some extra revenue coming in. Working on the exact numbers right here, and I'll get with Laura on that, but somewhere in the neighborhood of, we're looking at about $250,000 that came in additional. So as I believe we brought to council, I can't remember, it was a couple months ago, we brought a proposal for the amphitheater, and we are currently raising money for the Republic Veterans Memorial. So what we wanted to do is obviously the first thing to bring those things about is bring on a professional architect service to help with the design of it. We solicited sent out a request for statements of qualifications to our local architectural firms, received 4 back. With the 4 received back were Butler Rosenberry and Partners, H Design Group, Inform Architecture, and SAP Design Associates. Our selection committee met last Thursday night. That was their council members that served on that was Mr. Harder and Mr. Groom. Did a very good and diligent job. I do want to take my hats off to those guys. They went through those very, very, very carefully, which we very much appreciate. They ended up pretty much in a tie between SAP Design Associates and Butler Rosenberry. So what we decided to do, and hopefully you receive them in your packets, I gave you information on the 2 firms for you to review. Hopefully you had a chance to do that. Would definitely like to make a decision tonight. As far as personally, I've worked with SAP in the past, but I think they're good. I've heard a million good things about Butler too, and I would be absolutely fine with working with either firm. So.
Questions, comments, discussion. Before we get to that, Mr. Harder and Mr. Groom, since you both sat on the committee, would you like to add anything from the committee standpoint? I know you guys may be opposite, so this ought to be good. Keep yourself out, Mr. Groom. Mr. Harder?
Well, I think that Jared pretty much said everything that needs to be said. I believe I rated Butler slightly over SAP. For me, the defining factor was was their sound technician, and this is an amphitheater, where SAP did tend to occasionally have some more aesthetically pleasing designs, in their resume, if you will. But for me, that was the deciding factor. But it honestly, it was basically a tie on it. From out of 100 points, I think there was a 2-point spread between them.
Okay, thank you. Starter?
And I had the same thing, but on the opposite. I rated staff a little bit higher for the aesthetic design and just from the pictures of the things they've done and what they've done for us in the past. But where they were weak, I thought, was in the sound area. So that's what we said.
But
You
it's just
again,
keep the same.
We
with opposite company.
Well, as Jared said, I don't think that we can go wrong with either one of them.
Okay.
I was erring on the side of aesthetics, where he was erring on the side of sound.
That's interesting. Okay, council, questions, comments, discussion for Mr. Keeling or Mr. Grims and Mr. Hargis, since they were on the committee to discuss it. Mr. Clinkenbeard, go ahead, sir.
With Shane, if this is an amphitheater and sound's important, wouldn't that break the tie? I mean, if one is a little better on that, wouldn't that seems obvious to me that's a very integral part of the project. I mean, you want it to look better and sound horrible, or you want it maybe not quite, look so good but have great sound?
Fair enough. Go ahead, Ms. Poole.
Well, I've dealt with that a lot of years, and they've always done us good, so I just don't have a problem with dealing with them.
Okay. Additional comments, questions? Mr. Wilson, go ahead, sir.
After looking through this, I was kind of leaning towards that myself.
Do you need a motion?
No, I'm just taking opinions as we speak.
Opinions, huh? Opinion poll.
Pretty much. Go ahead, Mr. Clinkenbeard.
What stood out with the sound that was different? Is this just the actual having a staff member on board that...
First of all, they had a staff member on board, and secondly, the man had an outstanding resume between a number of amphitheaters throughout the state, and extensive work in Branson and theaters and the outdoor arenas and everything else down there. SAP, in their original presentation, did not even have a sound person in there. Since then, we've gotten an addendum, if you will. What did I do with it? I still don't see anything that to me says it's similar to what we're looking at. What we're looking for, you're welcome to look at that email. Okay. A lot of auditoriums and conference rooms and things like that, but nothing that really screams at me, hey, we've done a lot of acoustic work and things like amphitheaters and open air and theaters and
the acoustics and that type of work is very precision and skill. That's an important part of the sound stage.
Just to clarify what Mr. Clinkenbeard's looking at, Mr. Grooms and Mr. Harder asked me to follow up with SAP because they didn't include it in their RFP if they had a sound person on board. I made that phone call today, and that was the email. I called, made a phone call. He sent me that email with the person they referred to and would subcontract with as far as sound. And I can't remember the name of the firm, but that was listed on there. But that's what Mr. Clinkenbeard's looking at. So.
Okay. Yeah, and let's pass it around.
Looking for a motion?
Not yet.
I personally think that if the architect comes back with a design that we don't like, we can say, hey, I don't like that. We're not going to know there's something wrong with the acoustics until it's too late.
Would either of you on this side like to see the email after Mr. Brashears looked at it? Oh, you got it? Okay. So, please pass that. what we will need to do is, at this particular time, are there other additional questions, comments, discussion? If you will notice on the second backside of our resolution, there is a blank spot there for the Section 1. What I will need is a motion to approve or a motion to present to that particular firm and apply that into the Section 1 and Section 2. That is what I will need as a motion. So
I'll make a motion for that, for SAP.
you make a motion for SAP. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second for SAP. All in favor of SAP, say aye.
Aye.
Let's raise your hands. All in favor, or all opposed to SAP? All opposed to SAP, say no. Raise your hand.
No.
No? Okay. It's 5-2 in favor of SAP Design.
Huh? I really have no problem with either one of them.
You've been riding the fence and contradictory all night. I'm okay with that. Okay, SAP Design it is. Anything else on this? You got it? Okay, fair enough. On the next item.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Resolution number 12-R-14, resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri to approve the purchase of 3 new Dodge Charger police vehicles. Need a motion? Motion.
Second.
A motion is second. Welcome, Chief Mark Lowe. Please give us an overview, sir.
Well, Mr. Mayor, the bad news is Carbon Motors is not, as of yet, being able to produce and deliver the cars that you think we would really look good driving.
You would look good driving those things for a nominal fee, for sure. But Chargers will work.
Chargers will work. And before I start into this, those of you, thanks to Ryan back there, are probably aware that one of our police cars had been totaled by somebody who's running a stop sign and T-boning our car over here on Oakwood.
How is the officer?
The officer is fine, back to work, and already planning a fishing trip. I don't understand that. But anyway, I want to give some kudos to Jim, Let's Make a Deal, Krisky, because he was the one who handled the negotiations with the insurance company, and we came out fairly well on this compared to what we've done in the past. So he definitely deserves some credit, which helps us to be able to move forward to replacing the total car. And, of course, Laura assisted in reviewing the budget and determining that we were going to have funds to move forward to purchase 2 replacement cars from 2007. And so the basic overview is that we're able to come up with a replacement vehicle for the destroyed 2010, which was our newest car, and replace 2 of the 2007s that are relatively high mileage and are starting to become problematic. We're going off the state bid, and on the back sheet you should have a breakdown of the approximate cost it takes to purchase the cars. The cars on state bid are $22,000 and change, but then we get into making them look like a police car that deals with the painting the doors, putting in the spotlights, the vinyl flooring, keying them alike, striping them with the prisoner partitions. And this year we're going to go with something that we hadn't done in the past. They're offering an extended warranty instead of the 3 years, 36,000 miles, and that usually takes not much more than a year and a half to get to 36,000 miles. We're going to go with a 75,000-mile warranty, which should hopefully give us cost savings on these. Take any questions?
Okay, questions, comments, discussion for Chief Lowe.
How much is budgeted?
I will let Laura jump up here on this.
Well, as you recall, we had taken it out of the budget and bring it back at mid-year.
I missed a lot of the budget meetings this
Okay.
year because I wasn't.
Okay. This is one of the items that the council had taken a vote on, that was one of the priorities that we would come back mid-year. Well, we figured that would work out because this is on off a state contract, and once you order it, you still have 70 days before it comes back. You get it. And so which would be close to mid-year and would align with what we had talked to the council about, that funding. And another piece of that is that we were going to do a capital rotation program for the police vehicles, so this is a good time to start for that. So had originally, Chief Lowe had asked for $75,000 to be budgeted for 3 replacements, not take into consideration that one is going to be a wrecked vehicle.
And obviously, we're hoping part of this will be defrayed by the insurance monies and the sale of the vehicles that we were able to get rid of by replacing these.
$84,000 is the estimated total cost with by the time you add the decals and all the other stuff that we need to add to the vehicles, plus the extended warranty. When you back out the insurance claim that we're going to get, and then with the resale on the other two vehicles, I won't know what the resale will be, but my guess is we're going to be right around $53,000 net out of pocket. We'll get 3 new vehicles. I'm figuring 84, we're going to get about $22,500, maybe a little more than that on the insurance claim, and then about $8,000, $4,000 per vehicle, hopefully.
I'm optimistic.
It's a pretty good, nice market, so hopefully we'll get that. So 53, about 54. And we've got the money in a reserve account already to be able to fund it.
Answer your question, Ms. Poole? Yes. Thank you. Additional questions, comments, discussion, Mr. Grooms?
Yeah, you said that roughly $54,000 is in the reserve account. Is that a surplus that's been accumulated or expected to be accumulated, as Laura had spoken? I mean, is that what we're talking about, is we actually have a surplus above and beyond what was budgeted?
Yes.
And, okay. I just want to clarify that for myself.
And as we stated earlier, the priorities that you voted on as council,
right.
This was one of those priorities that came up. As we move into the next year's budget, and I'm just going to give you a brief overview, as we move into next year's budget, been lobbying for a capital improvements budget since I got on council in 2005, and we're actually going to have one hopefully this year by the end of the year, a full capital improvements budget, which will allow us to hopefully not have this type of stuff go on. We're able to put our capital improvements in order and get those voted on and get those implemented at a step-by-step basis, as opposed to having an emergency like this. But you never know when a police officer, a police car is going to be wrecked, so it's kind of one of those deals. But just to give you a heads up on that. Other questions, comments, discussions for Chief Lowe? Anything at all? Must add, Chief didn't like the paint job that I sent him. It was black and white, but that's all right. We'll stick with the one he likes.
I can only imagine what it looked like.
It was nice.
It was awesome.
It was really nice.
Like K-State?
No.
No, the problem was it looked fast when it was parked there, so I can only imagine.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Need a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion is second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries.